Business 110, it's Kristen here for the Chapter 8 assignment. If I were to start a business here in Iredell County, it would probably be an early childhood center in either Mooresville or Troutman. It's been my passion my whole life, children, teaching children. I don't know if I see myself owning one in the future or just running centers owned by other people, but I'm kind of going with that premise as I talk about the fixed and variable costs here. So when getting started with an early childhood center, some of the fixed costs that you're going to see are rent, which we talked about in the video for the assignment. So it's not even the biggest one right here, but also equipment. So in order to get a school started, you have to have furniture and toys. There's going to be initially a pretty flat number of pieces of equipment that you need. Shelves, toys, that's all very set by the state. So you would get that to the level where you need it to be. And then that would pretty much be just a startup cost at the beginning. And then you'd need curriculum materials. Some of these curriculum materials may be a pay up front kind of situation. Others may be a monthly fee that you pay. And that is relatively flat. You're either going to pay it up front or you're going to make that monthly payment. Very few of them are based on the number of users you have, which would make it a variable cost, but on the whole, curriculum materials are a fixed cost. There's also insurance, the liability insurance on the business, as well as renter's insurance if you're renting the building, and that would be a fixed cost that would remain steady over time. And then utilities can vary quite a bit, but the two that I found to be the most fixed would be the internet and phone. Typically, when you're getting a building started, you need enough internet for all of the classrooms to be productive. You need phones coming in and out, and that's not going to change too much based on the production of the school. Now, the production of the school for an early childhood center is going to be measured in enrollments and tuition. Some of the variable costs getting started with a preschool would be electricity. The more children you have in the building, the more classrooms you're going to have open, the more electricity is going to be used, the more lights that are on, that kind of thing. Another one is water. People probably don't realize how much water is used in an early childhood center. We are washing children's hands constantly. There are constant toilets being flushed. Teachers are washing their hands all the time. So if you have one classroom of children, you're going to have far less hand washing, toilet flushing, hand washing on teachers' and children's side than you would if you have 9 classrooms open. So that's going to vary greatly. Another one is payroll. Payroll definitely varies based on the number of children that you have in your center. The more children you have, the more teachers you need to take care of them. So that is going to be variable. That can even be variable week to week in a field like this. Food is another variable cost. Now, the school I work for, Goddard, does not supply lunch for the children, but we do supply snacks. So while parents send the lunch isn't going to be a food cost for the school. However, snacks are. Buying enough Cheerios for, again, 1 class is very different than buying enough Cheerios for 9 classes. So the number of children you have in a school is greatly going to affect the food used. There's also some consumable materials, and those are things like paper towels and paper plates and plastic spoons and forks and plastic cups, as well as construction paper and copy paper and crayons and markers. Some of those things don't seem consumable as far as being one-time use, but there are times, many of them in fact, that crayons and markers do become one-time use in a preschool. So those are things that are going to vary greatly depending on the number of children you have in a center. And then the last one I came up with is marketing. Marketing is going to change based on the number of children you have because there is a capacity that early childhood centers reach. If you are running a full school, you do not have the need for marketing that you do when you're just getting started. So that's going to vary. The intensity of your marketing campaigns is going to vary based on what is happening in your school. If we were to fast forward to 3 years later, there are some of the variable costs that you would hope are going to be up you're going to hope that your electricity and water are up. If your electricity and water are up, then that means that you are having more children in your school, and while that's still going to vary, we're hopefully going to be spending more on that item because that means we have more income coming in. Payroll is another one that we hope is up. The hope for every early childhood center is that you get full enough to need a lot of teachers. Unfortunately, if you're not, you are running more of a bare bones staff, and that is actually more difficult to staff than a full school. So that's going to vary. Food, again, more children, more food required. Consumable materials are the same way. Now, some toys that need to be replenished are going to be a variable cost. There are some things that just wear out. There are some things that get broken. So keeping up with equipment after your initial startup is going to be a variable cost. There's some things that hopefully are down, and as you're farther into the business, those would be marketing and big equipment needs. So hopefully like I was mentioning before, your marketing need is less because you have more students and you have less spots to fill. And then hopefully, as far as curriculum materials, hopefully you're buying less to add to everything. And that curriculum materials, once you have your basis, can become a little bit variable. Do you need to replenish? Do you need to update? That can change a little bit. It isn't quite as fixed as it was in the beginning. And then as far as fixed costs, 3 years later, you're looking at some of the same ones: rent, insurance, internet, and phone, because those are all things that remain steady regardless of the size of the building. And when I mean size of the building, I don't mean physical size, but enrollment in the building. So that's kind of a little peek into early childhood, as well as the variable and fixed costs. And I look forward to any questions or comments. Thank you.